Some definitions. The word Islam means submission to the will of Allah. A Muslim is one who has submitted to the will of Allah. And Islam believes there will be world peace when the whole world submits to the will of Allah. So Islam is a religion of peace. It's just their definition of peace is different than ours. Our definition of peace is different groups getting along. Their definition of peace is world Islam. So that's their goal. Their goal is to force everybody in the world to submit to Allah. It's sort of like Lincoln said, April 18th, 1864, we all declare for liberty, but in using the same word, we do not all mean the same thing. We all want peace, but when we say it, it's not the same as when they say it. So in Islam, the world's divided in two, the half that has submitted to Allah and the half that's in the process of submitting to Allah. The half that has submitted is called the Dar al-Islam, the house of submission. The half that's in the process of submitting to Allah is called the Dar al-Harb, the house of war. The non-Muslim world is supposed to be at war because it's in the process of being submitted. What about moderate Muslims? There are lots of moderate Muslims. The majority of Muslims are moderate Muslims. Moderate Muslims believe the world will submit to Allah later, maybe in the distant future, maybe at the end of the world, maybe it's even figurative. And since it's so far off in the distant future, they just want to live their lives and have their family. Fine. That type of Muslim has no problem living in a free democratic society and having you as a kafir infidel as a neighbor. The fundamental Muslim, they think the world is supposed to submit to Allah now, and they're really excited and they want to help make it happen. Now, the dilemma we face in the West is the more we bend over backwards to show ourselves nice and tolerant and respectful and really careful not to offend them, the moderate Muslim begins to rethink and says, this has never happened before. Maybe the world is, in fact, submitting to Allah now rather than later. And so they gravitate from the future peaceful mindset into the it's happening now mindset, which is the violent mindset. So all of our efforts to show ourselves really, really nice is actually creating more violence. Sort of like the law of the jungle, lions chasing a zebra, and as long as the zebras are fit and strong and running away, but when a zebra trips, does the lion pause and give him a head start, or does he pounce? Weakness invites aggression. So in Islam, they have a concept. When your enemy shows weakness, that is Allah giving them to you. So our niceness is interpreted as weakness, which causes them to say, okay, now it's time for us to get violent. Now, another word to define is the word innocent. When Muslims do terrorist attacks, politicians are quick to assure us they don't represent true Islam because Islam says it's wrong to kill the innocent. Let's define the word innocent. Innocent is a faithful follower of the way of Allah, the Sunnah, the example that Muhammad left. And so, if you are rejecting the example of Muhammad, if you're rejecting Allah, you're no longer innocent, you're guilty. And so it says, Allah loveth not those who reject the faith. Be ruthless to the infidel, the unbeliever. Make war on the infidel. Fight those who believe not in Allah. Kill the disbeliever wherever we find them. So when they say it's wrong to kill the innocent, it's code for it's wrong to kill faithful Muslims. Now, in all due respect, the non-violent Muslims, they consider them as having left the way of Allah. And so the killer Muslims have no problem killing the non-violent Muslims as much as they like to kill the infidels. So they enslaved over 1 million Europeans and had entire Catholic orders in Europe through the Middle Ages called the Trinitarians. The head of the order was called the ransomer, and they would collect alms and donations and go under a white flag to rescue back your friend who was captured by the Muslims or made a sex slave or something. And Muhammad raided caravans, and so they had ships the Muslims would raid on the Mediterranean. And they would raid the coast of Italy, Spain, France, Greek islands,